Hi, welcome back to season 4 of the Tummy Team Journey. I am Kelly Dean, physical therapist and founder of the Tummy Team, and I'm your host. This is the podcast where we talk about how investing in your functional core and pelvic floor strength can actually change your life. So let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Tummy Team Journey podcast. This is Kelly Dean, your host, and I am here with my friend and colleague, Beth Learn from Fit to Be Studios. And we've been longtime friends, and I reached out to her, a couple weeks ago and said, hey, we should do a podcast. It's been a long time. What do you have brewing in your head that you would want to talk about? Because sometimes I come with like some ideas, but I know that the way we work best is for us to just like talk about what's like on the surface. Because even if we have another topic, we get sucked into what's on the surface one way or another. So I thought we would just start with that. And welcome back, Beth. And so it's good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
We were both kind of running in different directions, and we
Right?
we were coming in hot to this. I was like, we're not
Yeah.
even going to say hi. We're just going to get going.
We're just gonna do it.
We're just going to do it. Um, so when I reached out to you, you said something along the lines of what's brewing in my head is, I can't remember if you said what now
Yeah.
or what's next. And why don't you share with everybody what you're thinking, what's kind of brewing, and well, also just give everybody that maybe don't know who you are kind of a little background on Beth Learn and Fit to Be.
Okay. Sure. So I got that text from Kelly, and my first response was literally this like, oh, you want to know what's going on in my head? Because I had just been in the swamps of my brain. I've had so many transitions in the last year in my personal life and in my professional life. And there's this looming question of what now? Like
Mhm.
like both a facetious version, like, "Ugh, what now?" And also this like, "Well, what now?" And it's all of that. So, and for those of you who don't know me, I am the founder of Fit to Be, which began in 2010 as an online fitness website for women who need to work out at home and don't want to feel intimidated. Like, I'm just going to wear normal clothes. And I've been a fitness instructor at this point in my life for 28 years. I started as a certified instructor when I was 18. So do the math. And I love fitness, but I don't want people to feel intimidated. And then I connected with Kelly in 2011 and learned more about diastases and made this big pivot to setting Fit to Be up so that everything we teach brings the core into the picture, brings the pelvic floor into the picture. So you can select any workout and know that we're going to be addressing your alignment and your breathing and giving you strategies to depressurize, take pressure off of your core and your mind
Mhm.
and your whole self as a person.
Yes.
But, and so, just this kind of circles it back to this question of, if you're there, if you're kind of in a place in life where you've already done the things and there's been a lot of changes in your life and you're kind of past a lot of the beginning things, what now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk
And
about
and
it.
when and when you said that, like, so in our personal life, like I am my youngest child is about to graduate from high school.
And my
And
youngest will be a senior next year.
yeah, so we're transitioning into that. I don't know, they call it empty nest, but that we're transitioning out of that hands-on parenting into that consultation, and we are both halfway in there because we have older
Yeah. Yeah.
young adult children
Mhm.
that we are still really invested in and involved with their
Yes.
choices and their, helping them guide them through this season of their life. So we have that. And then we also both are navigating, we're kind of in that sandwich generation where
Oh,
we're navigating the
yeah.
elder care of our in-laws and our own parents and their health, and we're kind of in the mix of that. So like that, all those things kind of came up, but also I think along the lines of where our clients that have like they've maybe done the rehab, or
Mhm.
they're no longer in the postpartum season, or they're now in menopause, or they're now like they're not don't have little kids or lifting anymore. There's this transition of, okay, I've done that, and now what? And it's like there's not always a linear next step. There's
Mhm.
sometimes and that's what I'm finding is it's especially as like I'm 53, right? And I'm thinking like it's not always just doing more or lifting
Right,
heavier or working
right.
out harder or adding new exercises or more. It's more about like instead of going straight, it's more of like this spreading out of
Yes.
like like holistically rounding out my life a little bit better, or
Mhm.
because I'm not so laser focused on this one season of life or one stage of recovery.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when you said those things.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's like I just today had this question come in to our forum on Fit to Be. And she's like, "Hey, I've maxed out my available home weights for deadlifts." She has two 25-pound dumbbells. "And I just don't really feel ready or have space to invest in a barbell or heavier weights. What's a good way of leveling up? Like what do I do? I This is what I've got right now." And this is such a classic example. This is a client that I've had, a member of Fit to Be for years. And she's strong and her kids are older and she's got the baseline. But she's like, "I don't really want to go invest in 30-pound dumbbells." They're expensive right now. Like, I don't like to pay more than about $1 a pound. And that's hard to find these days. Even on Marketplace, people be selling these old rusty weights for like $2 a pound. And I'm like, oh my goodness, stop. Go home. You are home, but I don't want your weights. They're gross. So it's like how do we give our body, give our minds something new to keep ourselves invested and interested without pushing harder?
Yeah.
Because I don't have much more to push at this point and in this season of my life. I'm
Amen,
I'm
sister.
done. I
I don't want to push harder.
I
I
don't.
don't wanna lift more. I mean, I know, like, lifting is important, and I am
Yeah.
invested in lifting more, but I I think about this in so many areas of my life, and because I'm also a swim coach, one of the things I always say is we need to swim smarter, not harder, because swimming's
Yeah.
all about efficiency in the water. Like,
Mhm.
you could be just chugging away and not going anywhere. It's
Yep.
like and you could be, like, trying barely at all, and you have a faster time. So, like, I'm trying to take that mentality of smarter, not harder, like that I see in swimming. And I also talk about in core rehab and pelvic
Yeah.
floor rehab specifically, it is smarter, not harder. And in these other areas of our life, and what does that look like?
Well, and you bring up, weightlifting, and that's what I was talking about too. But like right now, I have my own little home studio and I have these small circuit classes, and I've got these mamas in the squat rack. And it's always so exciting to get a mom in the squat rack. She's nervous, she's never done it before, and then she gets hooked. And so I've got these moms that started with a 45-pound bar, and now they're putting their names up on the mirror, and because they're putting their weights next to it. And I've got a couple of us that are doing 175 for like 10 reps. And
Wow.
that's huge. It's so exciting. And they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna add weight every single week." And I'm like, "Stop. You don't have to. You don't
Right.
have to." And we do 3 rounds of this circuit together, and, so they hit the squat rack once each round, and I'm like, "Listen, first round, let it be a warm up. Second round, play around with that heavier weight, and then third round, unrack it and go back into form and technique." And that is so hard for them to wrap their head around because they are so programmed. We are all so programmed to be always forward, always more, that the
Mm.
next step is always forward or more, and that's just not the case, and that's what leads to burnout and injury, and
Yep.
I don't wanna get there. I've
Everybody,
been there, I don't wanna be there again.
me too. Everybody has we all, and I think as human beings, we don't like boundaries. We don't like restrictions. We want to push past. We want to do more and push yourself to that level. But I'm learning, like, it's okay for me to listen to my body and my body say, this is enough. This
Yeah.
feels this feels good and enough, and I can, this is sustainable, this is
Mhm,
consistent, you know,
mhm.
and if you want to push something, why don't you push this thing that you're avoiding altogether, you know? Like,
Yeah,
we also like to push the thing that we're feeling success in, right? And we push it to the
we
max,
want
and
more
so
success, and we
yes, we
think
want
that
more
that looks
success.
like doing more of the thing, but what if it doesn't?
Yeah, what if it means doing something completely different?
And that is so hard because I also am done doing different things and learning new things. Like, I mean, I wanna learn new things because 'cause I'm I have time and bandwidth now that my kids are older. I'm like, "Oh, I've got some time. I could take a class, I could," and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, stop. La la."
Yeah. Or I could just rest. I'm
I
not
could
saying
just
new things, and I'm saying, okay, like, I avoid this particular exercise because it's really hard for me, and I wanna listen to why is it hard for me, and not trying to keep up with other people, but
mm,
what capacity could I do? What is the lowest capacity of that exercise that I could do, that I could be successful at?
mm,
And it might be a, one hundredth of what my peer is doing, but
right.
that doesn't matter. This is hard for me, and
That's
I'm
yeah,
avoiding it. And my body kind of might need that thing. Um,
yeah.
Even
So
at
you give
whatever
it a little
level.
bit.
And what I always tell people is, wherever your body is challenged is where it's going to build strength. So if that's 5 pounds for you, but it's 50
Mhm,
pounds for this person, it's 5 pounds. That's the challenge, that's okay. Like, I think some of this what now also pushes us up against that comparing ourselves to others and trying to keep up and trying to do what people say we should do, or those kinds of things. I think there's a component of that as well that
mhm,
every person needs to wrestle with for themselves. Like, finding, I am all about, like, what balances me and what is sustainable, you
mhm.
know?
Yeah,
Eh,
sometimes I have to remind myself that I am in charge of my own life. I'm a person of faith. I believe in God, but I also get to make my choices. And,
yes.
just yesterday, there was this thing where people were wanting me to do something and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I should do that." And I thought, "Wait, I just have such a sense of stress about doing this thing and I actually get to say no. This is my choice. And I am still me and I'm okay and I'm not in trouble if I say no." Wow, this is kind of a cool place to be.
I love that. I am not in trouble.
Right?
I
For saying no, because I
I
got in
know.
trouble for saying no as a little girl.
Well, I went to so I had a swim meet this last weekend in Bend, long course meters. I never swim that, but I'm swimming it right now because the nationals is in Federal Way, and I wanna go to it, and it's long course, so anyway. But I swam at this swim meet, and, it's high altitude,
Mm,
and, it was outdoors, and it was
which
cold,
changes everything. Mhm,
and, it it was not great. It was not amazing, and but I was there to swim this one event, the 200 back, and I just threw in a bunch of 50s to, like, to have other reasons to be there, but I mostly went to cheer for my friend who was trying to make a national cut, and, so I swam a 50 back, then I swam the 200 back, and I felt fine. I was like, "I don't even feel the altitude." And then I got in and I swam a 50 freestyle, and I felt like I was in mud. It's like the easiest event I could swim, and it was like everybody, I was just watching them pass me, like I wasn't even trying. I wasn't even trying. And then I finished, and in my mind, I wanna say, "I don't care what the time is. I don't care what the time is. I don't care what," I touched the wall, I looked at the time, and I was like, "Lo and behold, I do care what the time is." That
yeah,
sucks. But then I had another race to do. I had one more race, the 50 fly, and I did not wanna swim it. I did not wanna swim it, and part of me was like, as a kid, you swim it. You signed up, you swim it. As an
Yeah.
adult, I'm like, "I don't have to swim it. I don't have to swim it." Nobody's ma and I honestly am having this war in my head. I don't have to swim it. Nobody's gonna make me swim it. There's no coach here. I'm coaching myself. I don't have to swim it, but I swam it. Um, be
Oh.
but I swam it. But I swam it under the thing is I am not swimming this for the time. I'm not swimming this because I have to swim this. I'm not swimming it because anybody's making me swim it. I am going to swim it under the thing. I can do hard things.
Mm, mhm.
I can do hard
Yeah,
things I don't want to do. And the outcome might not make it worth doing it, but it's still sometimes really important for me to voluntarily choose to do something hard,
yeah.
even
Sure.
though it's still going to suck.
Yep.
And I and that's why I did it, and I'm not gonna lie, it still sucked, my time was terrible, I'm lucky I finished it, and what happened is I came out and I went into the cool down lane, and my friend was warming up for the 400 free, after she had already swum an 800 free, and
Yeah.
had so much self-discipline to not go, "Oh my gosh, that sucked, I'm so glad I'm done. That sucked, I'm so glad." I didn't say any of that because she's about to swim on a
Right.
bet. So I was just like, "You got this, you got this," and I'm swimming in
Good.
my head, "That sucked, that sucked," and when I'm above water, "You've got this, you've got this."
Good.
So I'm just saying, like, it's interesting how we can have these internal battles with ourselves about what we should, and I could have not swam it. I like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, whatever. But like I felt okay that I did it because I did it because I chose to do it, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
pressure. And I just feel like I feel like I am even though I'm 53, I feel like I'm just now learning how to take authority over my choices.
Mhm.
I'm just now learning how to be okay saying no and okay saying yes, how to be okay doing something that is not gonna I'm not good at, which I
Mhm.
prefer to do all things that I'm good at, you
Me
know?
too. Yeah, me too.
You know? It's okay to do something and not win, not get not not even yeah, not wanna celebrate it in any way, but I still did it. Like, I'm just trying I feel like I'm in this season of, like, it's okay to not be good at things, and it's okay to say no, and it's okay to say
Mhm.
yes, and it's just like this whole new world.
Yeah. I had a gal show up for a personal training session and she's like, "Man, I just have no energy today." Ugh. And she was, I mean, you could just tell she was moving through mud. She was in late luteal phase of her cycle, which, right before you get your period, where your energy is just bleh.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Okay, but you're here. You showed up." And I said, sometimes my worst workouts turn into my best ones, or
100%.
just because I show up, take it just be here for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or I've also noticed that when I show up for the bad workouts, my good workouts get better,
Yes.
right? It's
Yes.
and I'm a race walker, so I'm on this competitive team,
Mhm.
and we have taken first place in women's submasters for the Portland to Coast piece of Hood to Coast for the last several years, and we take it pretty seriously. We're those fast bun shaking women out there hustling our taters to the finish line. And there's 8 of us, and we have 24 legs that get split up between us to go from Portland to Seaside, and I don't always wanna walk. I don't always wanna go do my training walks, and it's hard. I don't wanna do it. But whenever I have a tough walk that just stinks, I'm just like, "Okay, but this is an investment. This is pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters into this jar
Yes.
that's gonna add up that all pays off on race day."
Right.
And it does.
And you don't always feel good on race day, and you gotta race
No,
anyway.
no, I
So
don't.
training ourselves to do stuff when we're not feeling
Mhm.
it
And it builds
is
my resilience.
well, and even just to translate into the other part of life, like, when when we have to be there for our kids or our parents,
Mhm.
it always comes when I would rather be doing something else. Like, or I had planned to do something else, or I was currently doing something else that I
Right.
really wanted to do, right? And, like, it builds that internal resilience in us to go, okay, well, sometimes we have to pivot, do the thing we don't want to do because it is, it's the thing we need to do or the thing
Mhm.
we it matches up with our overall goal in life, whatever that is, our goal for the activity, or the
Mhm.
character we're trying to build in ourselves. And
Yeah, and
yeah,
there's that old, saying of, if you're not comfortable, you're growing, or you're not growing, or if you're comfortable, you're not growing. That's
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
And sometimes that gets applied, to the religious side of things of, if you're comfortable, then God's not working in your life or whatever. And I'm like, well, hold on. Just wait a second. Because there's a whole lot more verses about we serve in the God of rest and the Lord of the Sabbath than there is about the other
yeah.
side of that. But we do know that, like, from a physiological standpoint, our bodies love to be in homeostasis. They want to take the comfortable route. Your body will aim for that plateau. It will find the most energy efficient way to do things. And so if you're not changing something up, then your body's like, "Great, we've got this sorted. We don't even need to burn that many calories for this anymore because we know exactly what's coming."
But the same thing, that same body also only builds strength under strife.
Mhm. But then when does it do the rebuilding?
Only
It
builds
builds it does
strength
the
under
rebuilding when you're resting after
struggle.
the strife,
Yes, there's a struggle and a recovery, a struggle and a
right?
recovery. So it's the balance between the 2 of, allowing yourself to be uncomfortable,
Mhm.
in whatever area it is, but also taking the recovery phase so that the next time you have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable, your body had a chance to
Yeah,
replenish yourself for that next phase.
yeah. And I found myself last year coming out of my intense caregiving phase with my mother-in-law, 4 months of, taking care of a woman who was on death's door with 3 different kinds of dementia, we found out, and who at the end needed all our help with all the things, the diapers and the clothing changes and the showers and everything. And and then coming out of that into race walking season, my body just was tapped. It was so hard for me to go into race walking season last year. I felt like I was having a heart attack when I would go walk. I realized my body was interpreting this additional stress as this massive additional stress. It had not had time to recover from the trauma of taking care of my mother-in-law, which was a physical stress on me. And then
Mhm.
I went right into race walk season, and I would start walking and my heart rate would go instantly to max. And I was like, "What is this? I'm not even working that hard. What is happening?" And it did that to me all season. I felt like I had to be careful because I was noticing that, and so I would slow myself down and check in and do some breathing while I was walking, and that was such a different place to be from prior years. Then I
Mhm.
finished race walking season, and I found myself looking for the next trauma because I had now spent, at that point, 9 months of my year in literal fight or flight.
Yeah, it kind of became almost like your norm or some kind of
Yeah,
adrenaline addiction.
and so then I was like, "What now? Wait,
Yeah.
what now? Wait, what now? What now?" And, I felt so lost and was really cognizant of that feeling. So then I got an opportunity to try something totally different, which was go to work for a nonprofit planning their events. A
Mhm.
nice, boring job. I
Yeah.
was like, I need a job that's outside my home, that is different from Fit to Be, that is different from core, that is different from fitness, that will help my brain actually shift out of
Mhm.
everything I have been doing. And it has been really, really good. And it was nice because it's just a 9 month contract. So I'm coming to the end of that. And I actually feel like, okay, all that to say, I had to actually step back, not push forward in my fitness journey and in my professional journey. I felt
Mhm.
like I needed to be on a totally different track for a while because I was unable to shift out of those sensations and that constant sense of panic when
Mhm.
I was on the same track, if that makes any sense. And so like in my brain, it really felt like I was a train on a railway, and you're coming to a fork in the road, and I needed to like, okay, call ahead and be like, okay, I need you to shift those little things over to send me in a slightly different direction here.
Right.
And it's what now is not always just keep going. Like sometimes we need to change tracks in fitness, in our
Mm.
careers, even if
Mhm.
it's just for a little while, it's just a season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I feel like, okay, now I'm ready to focus again back on some other things.
Well, and I see this in a lot of different goal setting type things too. Like, I mean, in my own life, but also like, like I said, I coach this high school swim team, and it's a short
Mhm.
season and we're hyper focused for on these
Mhm.
goals. And then the season ends and it's hard to like not go, okay, what now?
Yeah,
Like
what do I fill
what's
that
next?
with?
What's the next thing I need to do? Like, if there is like and you hear this with Olympians all the time, they are depressed after the Olympics. Even if they won all the gold medals, they're depressed because it's not meeting the goal. It's the drive towards the goal that
Yeah,
is
and it's the
beating.
community and the camaraderie and the
And
cheering and
and
the
the
sensations.
yeah, and the focus and all of that we miss. It's the grind that we miss.
Mhm.
And now, and we can say this even with our kiddos, right? Like, you know, we're in like graduation year is like one thing after another, after another, after another. And then they are and then it's the summer where you never see them before they leave for college, where they're
Uh-huh.
working all the time and they have every friend and every activity that they wanna spend with, and none of them
Mhm.
are due, and then they launch, and once
Yeah.
they launch, yeah, they might come back, but, um it's just never the same. It's never the same once they're out of the home. So there's this drive and everything is gonna shift. And if I try to make it the way it was, or even to replace it in the same way, it's just it rarely works. And I don't know. I jokingly say everybody asks me like, "Oh, you're gonna be an empty nester." And because I am a swim coach, I was like, I've got about 100 kids to fill my nest, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I got 50 kids on the girls' team, 50 kids on the boys' team. My nest will be full. But it's not the same, right? It's like a different but it is different. Like, it's like I'm being really intentional about, okay, where
Mhm.
is my energy gonna go? And to allow myself to rest in these areas and shift
Mhm.
and try something different and expand in different areas. And it's not always like in our rehab approach too and in fitness. It is really like, okay, when do we need to step back? When do we need to try something different? When do
Yep.
we need to return over here? When do we need to push forward? Like, and there's no wrong answer necessarily. Like, it's so individual for each person.
Mhm.
That's where we have to be very careful to not just, follow a protocol
Yeah.
or try to keep up with somebody else that's doing something. Like, we can be inspired and motivated by other people without having to live out the same plan as them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. As I've been putting together my little studio, we have this little barn that we just kind of stripped down to the studs and then rebuilt it back up. And at first, I had a really set plan for how I thought it would be. And I was having classes like right there in the middle of all the studs and construction. I was, a few ladies would come over and we do Pilates yoga blends or we do a circuit class, and because they wanted to keep coming through all of it. And they've helped me like figure out how to set it up based on what their needs are. And
Mhm.
it was such a nice and slow journey, not this overnight journey of, well, what are we already doing with this space? And so, therefore, what's needed in this space? And then continuing to adapt it. And I found myself feeling frustrated just a few weeks ago because I was like, oh, I really wanted that one rack to be on this wall, but it is not working on that wall. It is in the way. I had to tell my husband because, he's the handyman. I was like, I'm going to need you to move that rack. And I am so sorry. And and he's like, "Oh, here we go." And I was like, I should have gotten that right. I've been in the fitness industry for 30 years. How did I not know that the rack would not work out there? I have worked in gyms with flow and human movement patterns and arranging equipment literally 2/3 of my life. And then I realized that that is why I felt comfortable being able to make the change.
Mhm.
And I knew what change to make. That I had been watching my participants go through this new space and knew that it wasn't going to work there. And I wasn't entrenched. I could clearly see the problem and I could fix it because of all those years of experience. And I wasn't stuck with the problem. And it was
Right.
that was a little epiphany in and of itself because it was like, okay, maybe my experience doesn't always mean, even now, that I'm going to get it right the first time. What my experience means is that I have the ability to more clearly see a problem a lot faster and fix it quicker.
Yeah.
And then see if it's still not quite right and fix it again. And I'm willing to do those things. I'm willing to take a sidestep. I'm willing to move a rack. I'm willing to change a workout for myself or somebody else if it's not working. And I have ideas on how to do that because
Mhm.
of all the experience. And
Right.
that's fun and that's freedom. And that's a beautiful thing
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than being perfectionistic and down on myself.
Yeah.
Which is a
Yeah.
human.
And I think it's interesting because both of us have online programs,
Yeah.
where we have clients, and the beauty of it is that we can reach so many people no matter where they live. If they don't have a Beth Learn with a barn in her backyard to go to, or they don't have me,
Yeah, at your
to use
clinic.
them as their physical therapist at their clinic, right? They have access to us wherever they live, and they can get, and the way we can cue people about their body can be pretty personal because we don't have to worry about being in a group of a bunch of other women or men that might be listening to this. Like, they're hearing it, if I'm going to say vagina, or
Yeah,
vaginal wall or pelvic floor or not in your rectum,
yeah,
or, if we're going to say those things, there's like, we're in a space where that can be said. If we're going to expose our tummies or have them put their hands on their tummy, we're in this space where they can do that. So
yeah.
there's a beauty in that, but there's also, we both have been doing this for long enough to know that not every person that does this online video is going to get the same thing out of it, or is it going
Who's
to
gonna like
be
it?
or is it gonna be appropriate for, right?
Yeah,
Like, they might need to adjust this, or this person might need to sit like this, or this person might need to do this exercise instead, and
mhm,
as much as we want to meet everybody's needs, we we can't. And so we're in this conundrum together because we want to meet everybody individually, yet we have forums to meet the masses.
yeah,
And what I'm hoping people are going to get from this podcast is that our goal, it ultimately, is to teach them to be the best owner of their own body, to
mhm,
know themselves, and as they age and as they go through seasons and stages, to believe that you have learned some things that are right for you. And even if me or you are telling them this is the next step in the rehab, or this is the next progression in fitness, is that your next step in
mhm,
rehab? Is that the next step for you in fitness? Like, it's
mhm.
okay to sidestep. It's okay to spend a little bit more time in one place. It's okay to circumvent and do this thing instead
Yes.
if that's what feels right.
Mhm.
And if you need guidance, we're here to give that guidance. But I think that sometimes the what next or what now, I want all of our our listeners and all of our followers and
Mhm.
clients to know, like, we give you permission to kind of open it up a little bit,
Yeah.
like, we give you a structure and we know why we're helping you this way, but it's okay to do it a little sideways for a little bit, if that's what feels
It's
like.
okay to switch rails on
Yeah,
your train tracks. It's okay to pivot like Ross on
completely.
Friends.
Yeah.
Pivot.
We just watched that episode the other day.
It
Yeah,
it's such a great word. Like,
yeah,
well, and
yeah,
especially when it comes to the female body. Like,
yeah.
our cycles and our life is not linear. We go through so many more phase changes than male bodies. We
Mhm.
and then within our cycles, there's little micro cycles and everything is curvy and circular. It's not linear. And the more we honor that and lean into it and get
And ride
flexible,
the
really
wave,
complex
like,
systems.
riding those waves up and down, right? And
Mhm,
being able to turn one thing that, me and my husband joke about a lot because he is, he can change directions like that. He can boop, but I'm
mhm,
more of like, "Okay, I need to drive down all the way to the traffic circle, circle it 3 times, and then change directions." Like, I'm a little bit take a little bit longer to change course because I'm so, like, goal focused that I'm, like,
mhm,
white knuckling it even when we should have gotten off
mhm,
that ride, like,
mhm.
I'm going and I have to circle and do a little bit more of a U-turn, and he is like he could just stop in the middle of the road and
Mhm.
back up
Two-point
and
turn
run
and
the
go.
other way. He's like, we're doing something different. Let's pivot like this." I'm a little
Uh-huh.
slower on the pivot.
Yeah,
That's okay. We learn that about ourselves, right? And but recognizing that, you're not necessarily failing when you hit a wall or when you've met a goal and you're not sure where to go next. That's not necessarily
no,
that's life. That's
it's not a
that's
failure.
the curves and the
An invitation.
sideways. Yeah.
Mhm. It's an invitation, and that's what I started feeling and noticing and hearing, um, in my spirit last year was just this, "Okay, but this is a chance to listen and to stop and to invite yourself to be invited into potentially some new spaces. You've had entirely new experiences this year, and also that year was my daughter graduating high school and heading to college. And it was just massive amounts of changes. And it was my daughter who she said, Mom, it's like you feel like your story is ending right before she went to college. I was like, well, because you've been such a big part of my story raising you.
Mhm.
Like the moment I had you, my entire world
Pivoted.
wrapped around you. That's
Mhm.
just what happens, and she goes, "But mom, your story's not over." And I knew that, and boy, did I proceed to find that out because then the mother-in-law arrived and many other strange things happened last year. Um, but we can feel like we're at the end of a journey, but it's just the end of a chapter, and that's a little cliche, but I
No,
really
it's so true. It's
I've
so
seen that
true.
play out. Like, it's just the start of a new chapter, so it's okay to say, "What now?" It's okay to have that feeling. It's okay to feel a little bit lost. And the word that somebody shared with me was liminal, and I had never heard that word before, and I'm a wordsmith. I love words. But liminal means the space in between,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
just be in that place for a while, whether
Mm.
it's fitness or relationships or
Mhm.
kids or parents or career or the way you want to rearrange your living room, letting it be a little bit messy and sitting in that in between space is so hard, but it's not done. It's just in between. And it's a great place to ask yourself questions and look for answers and ponder and slow down a little bit, do things different,
And as you may feel like nothing's happening in that phase, like, because you don't
right?
feel the movement or the pressure or the
Right?
push or the all of that, but things are happening. I think about this, like, this with the diastasis that kinda stagnates for a little bit, and people are
Mhm.
like, "I plateaued." And I was like, "No, no. Your body is doing something you can't recognize, but
Yeah.
there's blood flow being developed, maybe it takes longer for the nerves to get to that area, maybe it takes
Mhm,
time for something else needed to heal, or your body you have another injury in your body that your body is prioritizing healing that, while this or you're emotionally going through something and your body's prioritizing that over
mhm.
this. Something's happening in that in
Yeah.
between space,
It's like
and
it's
you
like the caterpillar in a cocoon, you know?
yeah,
We don't see nothing for a while, and then boom.
yeah. And I had another podcast with a physician a couple weeks ago, and he was saying a lot of times, like, we both work so intuitively sometimes, we don't see how we got from A to C until we retrospectively go, "Oh, that's why all that worked."
Yeah, oh,
And
that
this
was B. There's B, I can see the B now between the
yeah.
A and the B.
Yeah, but I can only see it looking back. I couldn't see
Yeah,
it when I was doing it, and I think that that's that what that in between space is, and being th having gone through several seasons in my own life, I know that to be true, where I look back and I go, "Oh, that's what that messy,
yeah.
uncomfortable, awkward, like, un unguided, undirected space, what was happening in that space," and it's okay to just trust that space.
Just like you trusted the swim where you showed up for it, you know,
Yeah,
it was a push and it was work and it was more obvious, but then equally hard can be that in between space where you don't think any work is happening.
yeah. Yeah, and
So
what my body knows is that, like, there's gonna be times where, like, this meet really didn't mean anything. I could have just not shown up or scratched that event. But what if it's nationals and I'm not feeling great and I've trained all season and I really wanna finish and feel good about finishing strong? Like, every time, like, me doing it then when I didn't wanna do it, like, reminded me that I can do other things that when the next hard thing comes, I know I can do it. And so,
mhm.
I hope this podcast doesn't confuse people because we kinda are like, there are times to push, there's times to not, and there's times to rest, and there's times to challenge your body. But I think
It's
that's the
all
whole point of this podcast is, like, it is that. It's all of those things. It's all of
Mhm.
those things.
It's
And where are
ultimately
you right now? Where are you in those spaces? Because if you're in one, at some point you're gonna be in another one, and it's okay, and maybe that's what people need to hear, is it's
yeah.
okay.
Yep. I remember one time asking our pastor's wife who came to talk to our little our, you know, our college girls Bible study, and somebody was like, "Well, what's your favorite verse?" And she was a hoot and a half, and she said, "My favorite verse is, 'It came to pass.'" You know, like, "This too shall pass." Like, it
Right.
came to leave. And she's like, "So, you know, whatever." She goes, "I just hang on to that whenever things get really hard. You know, this too shall pass, and it came to pass." Like, so
Well,
it's a
even
season
the
of
good
whatever you're going
things,
through. Yeah.
even the good things are going to go, like, our kids are going to go, and that's what should happen. So, embrace it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and know it's not always gonna be here, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
There'll always be another thing.
There will. That feels like a
Yes.
threat sometimes.
It could be good things, it's just a new thing, but anyway, I know
Yes.
you have something to get to, you have a hard stop,
Mhm,
so I wanted to is there anything you wanna leave our listeners with? Any last little words of
mhm.
insight or encouragement or thoughtfulness or anything you have?
Well, I would say as a fitness professional, I would just wanna remind the person who might be sitting in front of this and listening to this and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like, is this season I'm in going to last forever? Because maybe it feels like it's already gone on for a long time, whatever it is you're going through. Maybe you already feel like you've been in this trench for way too long. And I can't promise you that it'll change. I don't know the future, but things do change. That's the inevitability of life. And
Mhm.
if you can do the next right thing right where you're at and just show up as you are right where you are, it will help.
Yeah,
Doing just a little bit, do what you're able to do and no more. Let it be enough, and it will help.
yeah. It's so everything is a wave, and it comes up, and just like a wave, it'll crash, and it'll come back down again.
Mhm.
and being okay to like not fight the waves, but let yourself ride the wave, you know? And I just I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that we have you as a resource. I feel like fitness needs, grounded, compassionate,
Mhm.
uh, thoughtful instructors because what we want for people is a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
and a healthy relationship with their body and with movement.
Mhm.
And we know that, motion is lotion. The more we move, the better things feel.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of obstacles to that. So I just like that you have Fit to Be, which is, we'll put your information in our show notes for
Thank
anybody
you.
that's been following us and doesn't recognize our close relationship with you guys. They've been under a rock a little bit, but, that we do really support each other,
Mhm.
in that rehab, fitness kind of sandwich
Yeah.
that there is, and we want people to have all the resources that they can get. So, thank you so much for sharing where you're at in life and your little moments of wisdom and
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Love you too.
yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening this time. I think we have one or two more episodes in this season, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break while my daughter graduates and we take a trip to Greece and do some other fun stuff. But I am glad you're listening. And if you feel like this was an episode that somebody in your circle needs to hear, please pass it on. And if you want more information about the Tummy Team, what we do at the Tummy Team, you can look at thetummyteam.com, and you can also follow Fit to Be .us. And there's also lots of resources on our websites that are there to help you guys. All right. So we'll see you next time. Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, Kelly. Bye, everybody.
Once again, thank you for joining us at the Tummy Team Journey. We would love to help you restore your core and be strong for the life you were meant to live. You can get more practical strategies at thetummyteam.com, and we'll see you next time.